I feel that we're more affected by what we wear than what we eat. My upbringing was very interesting. My mom was a pianist composer. My grandfather was the first chemist that Oppenheimer hired for the Manhattan Project. So I had his infusion of just being his kind of right-hand guy on the weekend. But being on the farm taught me hard work ethic and how everything you did on the land affected the land. And that's symbiotic relationship.
Jeff Garner is a sustainable fashion designer and documentary director renowned for his use of natural, plant-based fabrics and dyes. He partners with communities worldwide to preserve traditional textiles, creates garments for music and film, and has guided Whole Foods and Southwest Airlines in authentic, sustainable apparel programs.
Teach us what systemic changes you believe are necessary to hold brands accountable, the market and the industry accountable, to impact the environmental and the ethical changes we need to see.
First, there's no regulation in the industry whatsoever. So we're trying to create policy changes to help create some sort of boundaries. But the first thing we have to get off the table is synthetic fabrics.
For immediate change, can I please get inside your head and talk about hidden dangers of items?
When you receive those same chemicals through your skin, it's a 37% absorption rate. It's been proven. It's higher when you work out or sweat or, or hot, off-gassing, etc., because it goes through your nostrils as well, not just through the epidermis, through your skin follicles. So there's no protection mechanism to protect those chemicals, those toxins going through your skin. There's no filter, no barrier, no nothing, because we're designed to be nude, basically. I believe in good. I believe that people will get behind it. And every film festival we've taken it to, there's been a lot of students, a lot of young people. And that's given me hope, because all the film festival directors were like, we've never had this young audience before.
Welcome to Compassiviste Dialogues. I'm your host, Ali Horiat. My goal in this program is to educate our audience about various global issues and how we can help. My guest today is Jeff Garner, a fashion designer, filmmaker, and founder of Prophetik. Now, before I start, do you like Prophetik or Prophetik?
I like the way you did it at the end. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Prophetik, okay. A sustainable fashion label known for its commitment to plant-based dyes and eco-friendly materials. Jeff was raised on a horse farm in Franklin, Tennessee, where he developed a deep connection to nature, which now informs his mission to transform the fashion industry, a place that really needs a revolution in many ways. His designs have graced red carpets and fashion weeks worldwide, and has been recognized by the Smithsonian's Renwick Gallery as one of top 40 artists in the U.S. That's an achievement. Through his work, Jeff exposes the hidden toxins in everyday clothing and advocates for a return to ethical, sustainable fashion practices. Jeff's commitment to sustainability is, though, very deeply personal. We have something in common, not all the way. You've lost your mother to breast cancer. I've gone through that experience with my own mom, who I haven't lost to breast cancer, but she fears it every day. She fears it coming back every day. And that lives with you all the time. She's always checking for it. She's always worrying about it. And that's also really difficult. It's not, I'm grateful. We haven't lost her, but I just want to explain to people that when they say a cancer survivor or a winner or any of those things, it still lives with you forever. And Jeff became determined to expose the links between toxic clothing materials and health risks, driving his mission to revolutionize the fashion industry. Hello, Jeff, and welcome to Compassiviste Dialogues.
Thanks for having me.
I love your setting, by the way. Can you tell us a little about that before we start? Because I'm getting jealous.
Well, these are birds of paradise. They're the only, so this is interesting, the only plant in the world that the hummingbird pollinates, right? It can land on the flower, open it up, and anyways, brilliant. Yeah, I've been in Malibu for the last 20 something years. It's like my design inspirational place. I lived with a hippie dad here. And anyway, so that's where I'm at. Yeah. So I'm working on a new collection right now. But yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Can I ask you a personal question? How did the fires affect you?
Sure. Yeah. We're up north Malibu. So this last one did not hit us personally, but a lot of my friends. So I always stay in town. I always help fight. I'm part of the volunteer. We got hit in 2018, but yeah, it's interesting. It's getting worse and worse every season, but yeah, this last one, I think they found the person who set it. But yeah, the conditions are, we had a lot of rain the last 2 years, created all this abundance of growth. And so it was ready to burn. And it just, it's been sad because half the town essentially burned, and so it's affecting small businesses. They're going out of business. They just opened up the freeway last weekend, and it's a different energy now. So yeah, thank you for asking. But yeah, it's going to be a longer road on this recovery for sure.
I know a few of my friends are there too, and I hear it from them, and it's touched them personally, and it's touched them deeply, and it's made them also change their perspectives on the privileges that they've known all their lives. I mean, I have a friend there who's got horses, and to her, having to pack the horses into their trailers attached to the trucks and move them and ask friends to drive with them and all of that just to be alive, so to speak, really changed the perspective of this idyllic place where they live and life's just beautiful. So it's been a journey for many people. Speaking of journeys and horses, you grew up on a horse farm in Tennessee, and you're here at the forefront of sustainable fashion. I ask this question of almost all of my inspirational guests, and it is, something had to happen in childhood. Something had to influence you. Something had to grow with you to be who you are today. You don't just live through your childhood and wake up in your 30s and say, you know what, I'm going to tackle sustainability, or I'm going to go and help veterans, or I'm going to do this and that. This is my mission. It doesn't just click and you start, even if you have an awakening, whatever it is, something from your childhood, the universe somehow prepares you, gives you the tools. You may not know when to use it. You may not know what happened, why you have this staff in your hand, but one day you'll be like, ooh, this is what it's for. Looking back at your life, let's go through it. What made Jeff Garner?
Super interesting question. Never been asked that. I can think of a couple of things. My upbringing was very interesting. My mom was a pianist composer, and I grew up in Nashville, so I had this music infusion. My grandfather was the first chemist that Oppenheimer hired for the Manhattan Project. So I had his infusion of just being his kind of right-hand guy on the weekend and building engines, and we'd build my own go-kart. He had a laboratory, and we could just create radios. I mean, he was a brilliant guy. But being on the farm taught me hard work ethic and how everything you did on the land affected the land, and that symbiotic relationship. So I think that's what spurred when I got into fashion, which was through my bandmates in Nashville. They just all asked me to be in their bands. I said, no way. I don't want that kind of lifestyle. But I said, I'll dress you, because you guys are disconnecting from your appearance on stage. You think jeans and t-shirts are cool, and I get it, but like, your audience wants to see a visual connected with your beautiful music. So let me help define that. And so that was kind of that journey. But when I got into making clothes, it was so dirty. Like even printing the band t-shirts with the plastisol ink, I had friends that were running these printers in Tennessee, and they were breaking out with acne on their faces, and they're in their 30s. And I was like, what's it? And having the background in chemistry with my grandfather, I was like, what chemical makeup is this that you're putting through the screen into the dryer to harden? And that's kind of, And that's what began that journey. Everyone thinks, so when did you switch over? It's like, no, it's always been this kind of mind frame, because I obviously didn't want to do something creative that would hurt people or pollute the world. That was just my frame of reference. So I think just that upbringing alone is what created, what I'm doing today. So So I kind of walk through fashion every turn saying, okay, what can be done better or differently? And being, as you know, with your friend with the horses, like you're taught, like either you do it or it doesn't happen. Like you have to be hands-on. Like, I train horses, I break horses. Like, you don't take no for an answer. You simply dive in, you dig deep, you figure out solutions. And I think the fashion industry's been getting away with things because nobody's been asking these questions or diving deeper, or, it's a synergy of effect. What happens when you put this chemistry on a human body? And everyone kind of just turned a blind eye. They don't want to know, or they don't know enough about it, or they don't know enough how to change it. And I was like, well, that doesn't make it right. And so, so that's kind of the upbringing in a nutshell. Yeah.
You know what? I want to tie it to your relationship with nature being also the horses, also the chemicals, also the environment, because that when you speak, that plays a big role in your life, how you saw the other, how you related to the other in many different forms and shapes and ways. And then understanding the connection of the audience to the bands that you were talking about. I mean, I could, you're absolutely right. When you look at, for example, a band like Kiss, their outfits present them right in a way. Or when you look at, Guns N' Roses in the 80s, I mean, Slash, his hat, like there's things that were symbolic about the people that were coming on stage. And sometimes you look at a person on stage, and if they don't have a killer voice, it's kind of like the rest of the art's just not there. But you got away because you have that voice that nobody else has. But you know what? I wish you had the whole package, kind of thing. And that's, again, relation, right? And you touch on relation. So and I know this, the fashion industry is notorious for its lack of regulation. I don't know how this happened, but if you think food labeling is bad, you should visit the fashion industry, because it's crazy. Now, there is some education. People are learning. People are understanding some of these things that you're saying. I think in the 80s, maybe in the 90s, it would have been, oh my God, I had no clue, But now I think in the age of information and the availability of information so readily at our fingertips for free, there's a lot of information. What I want to start with is information doesn't necessarily create change. We knew for a long time smoking's bad for us, but we smoked, and we allowed, cigarette companies to sponsor all kinds of sports. So it was there. The information was insufficient. It came to maybe some economic benefit and some health benefit blended together. Whereas, if we cut the smoking, we'll have this many people less in the hospitals. The insurance companies will pay out this much less, and all these other factors coming in, plus the health benefits, plus yada, yada, yada. It just became a full package. We decided, okay, we're going to put these companies aside, and we're going to let you reinvest all that money into another space, so you're not going out of business either. Marlboro and Camel and all these guys are not out of business. They're just refocused now. So it works for everybody. Do you think something like that can happen in the fashion industry, where you can teach us what systemic changes you believe are necessary to hold brands accountable, the market and the industry accountable, to impact the environmental and the ethical changes we need to see from a policy perspective, from a corporate perspective, and from the consumer perspective? Because I personally never discount the consumer's responsibility in the game.
Sure. Great question. Again, my hippie dad always taught me knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. And I say that because I've learned it this year alone with our documentary release, even in the film festivals and all the press going out with that. People are starting to retain some of this new kind of studies we brought to the table, knowledge, et cetera, we brought in. and they're grabbing at it and using it for their own endeavors. So to try to push what I call greenwashing, which is simply taking one element, saying, hey, look, this is natural fiber or this is less water usage, and then trying to promote it to consumers. So yes, that's why I call it let them be naked. We got to strip it all down back to the basics. And yeah, to do a systematic change, there's no regulation in the industry whatsoever. So we're trying to create policy changes to help create some sort of boundaries. But the first thing we have to get off the table is synthetic fabrics. That's the first. It's like, I don't know if, I'm not a big snake lover, but my buddy loves snakes, but you have to cut it off at the head. And the head is chemicals, these toxic chemicals that the chemical industry uses to make these synthetic fabrics to place them somewhere for their own profit gain. And these are things we have to get off the table because they will obviously they'll be better for the consumer and better for the environment just automatically. And then the second thing would be the dyes. Same thing. We cannot use synthetic dyes anymore. Now, everyone in the industry will they stand up in the room and say, there's no way, and yes, there's ways hemp. We used to grow hemp everywhere. It can grow everywhere. It can be, manufactured. It's a 3-month processing. It doesn't need water usage. It's not using cropland. The battle against natural fibers is there's a lot of PR against it. But it's just not true. We have enough synthetic clothing in the world right now to clothe everyone. So we don't need to even produce more. So that's why I'd say we stop that automatically. Then the things we do produce moving forward are a natural fiber that biodegrade so it doesn't stay on this earth, because we're going to be dealing with the leftovers for the next 10 years for sure. So those would be my 2 elements. And once you do that, then the whole impact it's going to be a level playing field at that point. And those are the 2 things we can regulate moving forward in manufacturing with policy change. Now, the industry is going to fight it because you got to understand the chemical industries, it's a $75 billion revenue. I mean, it's crazy the amount of money they're making by pushing, kind of like the drug lords are pushing their chemicals into this industry, just to help, and that's the codependency we got to move away from. And you're right, consumers are responsible because they're addicted to this cheap price point. They want to go out into H&M and Zara and buy that T-shirt for $7-8. And that's not a reality. We've been making and producing and selling T-shirts for $7 in the 70s. Okay, so why is coffee more expensive, Coke more expensive, gas more expensive, housing more expensive? So T-shirts should technically be at a $40 price point. And that's the weird, we're not buying at a true cost right now. And so that has to be broken, because guys like me are making it in the US, making it out of natural fibers. We're selling our T-shirts for $40. We can't make them cheaper. And so that also will shift and change. But what that does, it makes the consumer buy less. So it's more conscious buying. So and plus with my T-shirt made of hemp, I honestly have one that I've been riding horses in for 12 years. It doesn't have one hole in it. And they teach us in design school called design obsolescence, where they make T-shirts out of cheaper fibers. The stitching's cheap. It's single needle stitch, and it comes apart after 3 washes. Okay. So that's going to have to go away. So that's where it has to start at the front end. You have to get those toxins out of the supply chain. Bottom line.
So you take an approach where you'd like to target the industry players to say, hey, sober up, take responsibility, take accountability, lead the way to this change, and the consumer and the government and the public will essentially follow suit.
Yeah, it's like cart before the horse, right?
Right.
The government will react when you bring it to the table and say, this is a public health issue, and here's why. And that's why I did the book, to have all the peer-reviewed studies there. Everything's there. You cannot deny it anymore. These companies can't skirt around it. It's there. And people are responding to that. They're coming out of the woodworks, talking about their kid breaking out with this and the breast cancer and this. And so kind of like what you said with smoking, it took 30 years to prove it when they had the science there and the research there. Why? Because the industry's fighting it left and right. and doing anti-propaganda, PR campaigns, and they have a lot more money than I do in my little film. So we've already, received some type of, threats, etc. So it's not,
Which is natural. And you know
it's
what?
Natural.
It's a plausible too. I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's good because it means you're making progress.
Yeah, exactly. And
so be proud of it.
And being the horse guy I am, I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's do this cavalry charge, because now's the time, especially, wherever you are in the world is shifting. Everyone's talking about the health movement, etc. And it's time, it's weird how things align. And I wasn't, when I did this documentary, just so you know, in a year, start to finish, from funding to filming to editing and out the door. And all my buddies who are in film, which I wasn't until now, thought I was nuts and crazy. But I said, listen, I don't know what it is, but my gut tells me we have to get this out this year. And so that's what we did. So now I'm so thankful, because I was listening to the universe talk to me, because it's the perfect timing for this. Because and that's it with everything in life. It's timing. You can have the most amazing documentary, amazing product, amazing relationship, but it's about timing. So that's where we are. And already we have a policy change in the UK government that was presented over Christmas, the first time ever, where we had Natalie Bennett, who's a Green Party baroness, who presented regulation of toxicity in clothing to the UK Parliament. And it's the first of its kind. And they were like, even the House Speaker was like, I've wondered what this starch was in my collar and what it does, because I break out, So just to bring it to a legal body to talk about it gives it, leverage, in the sense, like it's a real deal. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not made up. It's like, it's something we need to look at. So it's exciting times for this.
Oh, certainly. And, I want to ask you on a tangent, what do you think is the industry's pushback, not with the Zara's and H&M, like you said, not with the Shein and those brands, but with the brands who have the price point and who can make this change and make it in a sense of prestige. When I look at people on the street, I'm people watching, and I see someone walking around, with a Gucci or Louis Vuitton suit on or something, and it's, chemicals. They're basically walking in chemicals, right? And they've paid 10 grand for it, 8 grand for it, some ridiculous price. And I'm thinking, oh dear, poor you. On the one hand, you're doing it because you're peacocking and showboating and all that. But on the other hand, it also tells me you have no understanding of real fashion, of real understanding of what you're doing to yourself and how you're presenting yourself. I mean, the essence of fashion for me is an art. And as an art form, it's the way you want to tell the world who you are. It's a business card. It's your business card in a different form, in a much more artistic form. You're presenting yourself with that power. And when you do that in this way, it's kind of like, you're vulgarizing yourself. You're just saying, I'm an ignorant person. You can take all of the advantage you want of me because this is how ignorant I am. So do you think that the movement can start up high where those brands can afford, who are currently selling t-shirts for $400 with chemical dyes easily, they're flying off the shelves. Do you think that at the top of the chain of those brands, there is a moral compass somewhere that you can tap into? Or do you think that because they're conglomerates now like LMVH, it's become a corporate thing. It's no longer about fashion. It's no longer about statement. It's no longer Christian Dior coming out and saying, this is what I feel. It's really just all the brands meshed together and business as usual and all of that. Do you think it's lost, or do you think that's where you want to start the target? Where is it that you think is our entry point into this change from the industry?
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm a positive thinker, and my hippie dad always told me wherever you are is the entry point. But I, at one point, was hopeful. Like I loved Dior. One of my um, ex proteges, she's now designing for Dior, and so I have insight into that. And you're right; they are, unfortunately, these labels, brands, whatever you want to call them, are corporately owned now. So there's limitations to what they, even if the players in the companies, the designers, et cetera, designers want to, directors want to change, they cannot. Be based upon this, the board or these guys who are just looking at numbers. Cause, what I do, for example, with Prophetik, and we're small, obviously, but I don't know many designer owned brands anymore. Like I have no investors. I own my brand. I can do whatever I want today. I can design a peacock boxer if I wanted to. But like, for example, like this shirt, okay, so this is hemp and linen mix. It's dyed with bark from my farm. I got metal buttons on it, right? So these details obviously add an element to it that, is a higher COG margin. But I, like you, see this as fashion, as more of a designer makes these decisions, these detailed decisions in every garment off a cuff, off a whim. It's not put in a mass production element. It's not cheap fabrics, right? And that's where I have it like you. I don't see these brands. And I was just in Rome, where some of the major guys are, and you walk in the stores and it's all synthetic fabrics. That's not luxury to me. That is, like you said, they're charging X. They should give the best fabrics there are. And Italy used to make some beautiful fabrics. They still do. But I think it's a lost art form in the sense of the designers don't own the brands anymore. They can't make those decisions. And I'm friends with a lot of them, and they would make those decisions, but the company at large doesn't want that. They don't want to lose those profit margins, and they're all worried about their business models, et cetera. And that's where I would hope that they will use this movement to go back to those old ways, and it will only define them and create a niche for them even more. Because I do think, like our grandparents knew about fabrics. They could touch and feel and know exactly what was in it. They wouldn't dare buy polyester at that crazy price point. Never. And then the fact you bring in natural dyes that are grown on a farm that have that, that health impact as well. Like that to me is luxury. And so that's what I'm hoping at my small little brand. I'm hoping saying, hey, you can do it. This is how you can do it. And we actually just opened a little office in Rome with Susie Amos Cameron, and they're calling it IO, Inside Out, because they want to help work with these companies and show them how you can do it. Instead of like pointing fingers and say, yeah, this is wrong, this is wrong. It's like, how can we help create this change from the inside out? How can we go in and like, I can give them my expert, like use this fabric. These dyes are easy to grow. This is where you can get this. And we want to help. It's at the beginning stages. I don't know where they are with that. I do know personally, I met with Jockey Underwear it was a year and a half ago. My buddy from Tennessee is the president of it. They were so worried that they would bastardize the rest of their brand. That's why we didn't do a project moving forward, because they were worried about the consumers' take on it if I did a collection for them made of hemp and organic cotton, no bleach, natural dyes, because they've been, they started that company with wool socks. Lumberjacks were losing their legs. I mean, they started with this purpose, all made there, in a home factory. And then they've always done cotton underwear. So I was like, great. These guys are still family owned, not corporate owned. They're family owned. I'm like, these guys maybe will want, and there's a French creative director. She gets it. She got it. But again, the president, he wouldn't mind me saying this. He said, listen, Jeff, I'm responsible for all these guys' jobs. I'm responsible to the family for their business. I just think it's too big of a risk. So then that put it back on me and said, okay, this is my job. I have to help convert everyone, the consumers, to want this.
Yeah.
Before these companies will change. And that's what it brought me back to, is like, so let's use a film to help create that, again, it's cart before the horse, but if we create that demand, these guys will change. So
I like that answer. And it leads me into my next question. And that is, Let Them Be Naked, your documentary. It basically, is shedding light on the dark side of fashion from this perspective. And, the inspiration is obvious. I don't need to ask you about that. But what I want to ask you about is this. And this is why I'm doing my part for your documentary. So at Compassiviste, we're creating a convention, which is basically bringing all of the people who are making change in the world together. We're launching it in about a year's time. Part of it is going to be our Social Impact Film Award, which doesn't exist currently. I mean, you can't get an Oscar for your documentary right now in the right space that it belongs, because there isn't that. There isn't a section for that. And I think that's the most important type of filmmaking today, which is telling a story that inspires change, that moves change. So what you're doing right now, if you go back about 20 years, Woody Harrelson did a thing called Kiss the Ground. It was a documentary. Oh. It was about regeneration. Remember that? Soil and all of that. Changed the way we do agriculture in the US. It was one of the moving parts. Now, how he did it, like you, he went out, he thought, hey, everybody's going to buy into this. This is amazing. Nobody wanted to fund it. He had to put his own money into it. Brought the team together, made it, but he did something genius at the time, which was, he said, watch the film, but don't stop there. Here's the website, kisstheground.org. Click on it. If you're a farmer, get involved. Call me. Let me send you a crew to teach you how your farming will be better. Take a chance. If it doesn't work out, kind of like a free return policy, all of these kind of things, right? Got the people involved, got it in motion and all that stuff. What we're trying to do is creating the awards, not to give you a trophy to put next to your other trophies, but to get people to engage in the sense that, hey, here's an award, here's $1 million on the award. Okay, Jeff wins the award. He doesn't get the $1 million to buy his next Lamborghini. No, he gets the $1 million directly into the cause activation of the film. So now the film is going somewhere. It's got legs, right?
Yeah.
Jeff is on the horse. He's pulling with this. We're giving him that horse, right? Now he's pulling people into it. He's driving the change. And I think what you're doing with the film in bringing the education and people seeing it and people saying, oh my God, I've seen it. You've seen it so many times. There's so many powerful documentaries out there that we watch, about the oceans, about slavery, about trafficking, about so many important issues in the world. And it'll just take a few hours that we kind of like lose it. We detach ourselves from the impact, even if we cried when we watched it. And I think what's missing is that link. How do you retain the audience and take them for that ride with you to be impactful? Because I think on the one hand, like you said, Jockey, huge company. And there's others. And some of them are being bought out right now. I mean, you have people who were into the natural and all, like, the Cucinellis and people like that, those kind of old school brands in the mountains in Italy. I've visited it. I've visited the place. Beautiful, beautiful space, right? But how long can you hold that? In today's world, you're getting bought out. As soon as people notice that, hey, there's a market here for a brand like, the big brands, whether it's the LMVHs or the others, it's peanuts to buy you out for the few $100 million that you're worth. And they will. And you can't really do much about it. So the one side of the story is a very uphill battle. The other side of the story, to me, is the public. I think if we can engage the public in a sense of saying, we're trying to get Jockey to change their mind. We need 1 million people to pre-buy or to invest into Jockey in a sense that will guarantee the worries that the director has or the CEO, to tell them the public's with you. We want this from you. We are together in this, right? I think if we can do that, those brands will find that bravery within them to say, I'm not risking anymore. I'm flowing with the river. And I see the land at the end of it. I'm not going to drown. And so they'll take on suit, right? Do you believe something like that can happen or is the way to move forward, to collect people and the brands and make them feel as one. Because one thing I really dislike in today's context is this dichotomy that's being created. You know, like you said, the
awful.
greenwashing. People are going out there. Nestle's a bad company. They're making plastics. And, okay, don't buy the plastics. Tell Nestle we want recyclable bottles. Tell Nestle we want bottled water that we can take back to Walmart and pick new ones and return them, just like they do in Europe, for example, in many places.
Yeah.
And we'll be a lot better.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Nestle will do it if you can show them that you're going to maintain that kind of profit margins that they're looking for. They only care about the money. They have no interest into what they're selling you. As long as there's demand for it, they'll sell it, whatever it may be. So if we can bring the government in and say, hey, we'd love to do this new water model, but the problem is the public can't afford $6 for water. They can afford $4.
Exactly.
Subsidize the damn $2 so that we can make this change and it becomes a much better world. So the government at that point says, okay, I get it. If I put $2 in here, the world changes. But you as a pioneer in this situation, you're the person who can charge that. You know, you can lead because you've already started. You've made the film. You have the book. You have the contacts. You are who you are. Like you said, the timing's right. The timing's right. You are the person for it, right? You're the Moses in this situation. So now, where are you going with that? How are you charging? Because that's what I want my audience to hear. I want the audience to hear there is somebody making this charge. We can go behind him. We can go and support. We can stand with him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love the visual there. I see it as a cavalry charge because that's why the film, I did it in that way to help bring community behind it. So it's not one person's agenda or this person's agenda. And everyone, by the way, everyone that I interviewed in the film, I decided there was again, the money didn't come from any companies or any brands or anything, which they do in documentaries, which surprised me. I'm like, wow, I thought this was supposed to be clean. Like you don't, but people do product placement in documentaries. I'm like, that's crazy. So I really wanted to spur this like a cavalry charge. If we can bust through, then we can circle up and then, but you're right. It takes policy change. It takes it all at one unison kind of movement. And unfortunately, even guys that are trying to do in my realm that are sustainable pioneers or activists or whatever, they're fighting with each other for stage. And I'm like, guys, who cares if you're the sustainable queen or king or whatever? Like, get off your platform, get behind a movement. Let's all do this together. And the film is for everyone. And let's make some headway because it will only in the end support your endeavor or your initiative or whatever that may be, however you make your money. And that's why I had to step back and be free and codependent and unattached to this because I'm not making any money off of this. I'm losing money. But so, just to frame it up. So I'm now doing, because there weren't any intimates on the market right now, I did hemp boxers for men and women just to provide options for my buddies because everybody and their brother was talking about bamboo, this and that. I'm like, that's not a good fabric. And then they would do organic cotton, but polyester waistbands, things like that. I'm like, well, let me show you so I made my waistbands out of organic cotton and natural rubber, which, anyone can do if they've invested into it. And I use hemp for the body. And I show that you can wear these 5 times in a row and you don't have to wash them. And that's the other thing people are missing is that in fashion, it's also the washing of these synthetic clothing daily. You go to the gym and you sweat in it because it's non-permeable. It holds smell. All those chemicals go in your skin. You go take it home, you wash it. Well, that's going to go in the laundry. It's going to go in the environment. So again, if we go into the natural
and you're going to drink it in one form or the other.
Exactly. And so we got to get, again, synthetics off the table. But yeah, so I'm leading the charge in that sense of hey, I've done this. I've done this for 22 years. And that's why, it's interesting because I was looking for a director for the film and everyone was trying to charge me, because I had the Redford Foundation as my fiscal sponsor and I had the Susie Amos Cameron as my executive producer. And everyone just thought, oh, well, they were trying to charge me crazy amount of money to be a director. And I said, no. And then the Camerons told me you should direct it. And they said, no one knows this better than you. And you've been living and breathing it and you wear it every day. And that's it. I make all my own clothes and I live and breathe this. I believe in it and I know it can happen. And I'm hoping that example and that passion will help spur and drive it, because we need, like you said, it's being divisive. We're turned against each other, even in the same movement. We're fighting over likes or followers or whatever it may be. And I don't care. I don't care anything about that. I hate social media, but I'm using it as a tool right now to get this out there. But I believe in good. I believe that people will get behind it. And every film festival we've taken it to, there's been a lot of students, a lot of young people, and that's given me hope. Because all the film festival directors were like, we've never had this young audience before. And they're fiery. Even in Glasgow, I thought they were going to start a fire. I mean, they were just like, how could we be lied to about all this, not knowing what we put on our bodies, thinking that we're buying something in the store that somebody checked and it's safe for us to wear. And, it's causing impotence and it's causing muscle fatigue if we play sports. Like, there's all these factors that aren't talked about. So, yeah, I do believe, So I'm hopeful that this film will break through, and I hope it will give, if you're that maker making, a hemp bra right now, hold tight. It will come. The time will come, and you'll sell your product on Etsy. Just hold tight, because, that's the problem, is that I've started with a lot of brands 22 years ago doing ethical or sustainable fashion, and they're all gone now. They couldn't hold on. They were losing money. There was an audience. People wouldn't pay more for it. So I'm hoping that's coming around the corner.
Okay. Well, you know what? The reason I took this interview was really, I know you're famous. I know the people in the film, Gerald Butler, Darren Olean, all these people are there. There's a lot of, brand behind it and all that, but it wasn't for that. It was so that we can support what you're doing. I really believe in what you're doing. I left a multi-billion-dollar business that I had to do what I'm doing today. I mean, I was trading. I was one of the largest trading platforms available in the country, and deleted the whole thing. I left, and I started Compassiviste because I realized we need this. We need good people to come together, and it's not about competition. Yeah. And like you, in that heyday, I never had social media. I didn't have Instagram or anything like that. And I probably would have been one of the greatest influencers of my days back then, but never cared for it, right? I just cared to live happy for myself. And now I have social media like you to promote Compassiviste. But then I meet people who want to come on board, and I tell them, give me a proposal. Let me see what you're thinking about. And then they come to me with, these are your competitors. And I say, what do you mean competitors? Are they pushing for compassion and betterment? Yes. Am I doing that? Yes. How are we competitors exactly? Oh, but your brand and I just don't get it. Like you, I don't get it. I don't get how you're pitting me against the same person who's trying to save the third person's life. It doesn't matter who's, rope they're going to catch and pull them out the river, as long as we get them out the river, right? That's the point. We want to save the person who's drowning. Doesn't matter who throws the rope. As long as that person comes out, that's the point. And so, there's a lot of difficulty within the industry itself. There's a lot of hypocrisy. I think hypocrisy is the greatest nemesis we have right now in any industry of trying to make a better move. Hats off to you for keeping it clean. And you're absolutely right. A lot of documentaries and a lot of books and a lot of art is being made in such a hypocritical fashion. They're fighting the thing they're getting paid from to present a fight, and I think to myself, how did you go to this? How did you even dare go to this organization? They're exactly what you're trying to challenge here. And it's like you said, it's about the money. So we're here with you, and we'll walk the walk with you all the way. So I'm happy to be here. Now, for the audience and for immediate change, can I please get inside your head and talk about hidden dangers of items? Because talk about yoga pants and sleeping nudes and some things like that. And I want the audience to start changing habits, to start forming habits, to start being smarter. So give them this 5 minute, whole PhD of how do you get better right now?
Sure. So most people associate what you put inside your bodies via eating, affects your health by, chemicals or, the organic pesticides, et cetera. So imagine those same chemicals, pesticides are also in your clothing, right? The difference is when you take in food, you have esophagus, stomach acid, you have liver, you have different elements of the beautiful design of your body to take care of those things. Now, when you receive those same chemicals through your skin, it's a 37% absorption rate. It's been proven. It's higher when you work out or sweat or, or hot, off-gassing, et cetera, because it goes through your nostrils as well, not just through the epidermis, through your skin follicles. So there's no protection mechanism to protect those chemicals, those toxins going through your skin. There's no filter, no barrier, no nothing, because we're designed to be nude, basically. So that's what I'm talking about. So in my opinion, I feel that we're more affected by what we wear than what we eat. Okay. So that should put in perspective. Everyone should look at this because I think it's at least a quarter of your toxic intake, right? So the idea in everyday life is to lessen your bioaccumulation levels, meaning so your cleaning products, what you eat, what you wear, et cetera, fumes from the diesel cars, et cetera, your environment, right? So for what I'm speaking about, okay, so you wear clothing all day long, right? So sleep nude first. Then what are you sleeping in? Sheets, right? So make sure your sheets are natural fibers, undyed for now, because if they're saying they're dyeing them with plant-based, they're probably lying too, okay? And then thirdly is your intimates because they're the closest thing to your bodies. So that's one thing you can change. Now, I looked on the market. There are organic cotton intimates out there, undyed, so they're available. There's a lot of French companies on Etsy, et cetera. So men and women is very important because you want breathability. And then, the fourth thing is that can easily be changed. And all this stuff they could change today, tonight. Is detergents. Detergents, obviously, there's more and more coming out since this film. And I've seen all this stuff on Instagram. It's crazy that didn't happen before. But they don't have to disclose their ingredient list, unfortunately. They're protected under the act of whatever their secret ingredient, where they don't have to disclose it. So typically that's carcinogenic. So if it has staying power, meaning a scent, it's probably bad for you. So, and these companies have scientists that work for them, chemists that put in these ingredients so that it has an addiction quality to it, so that your mom cleaned with, let's say, one of the major brands, I won't name a name, but Tide Gain, all those guys, that you will also clean with the same detergent because you associate the smell with cleanliness, but it's not true. It's just a smell, but that's the power of chemicals, right? And the chemistry is amazing. It could be used for good. It could be used for bad. So those are the things I really highlight and start with. It's not overwhelming. It's something they could all do today and tonight that could change that out. And that will help your bioaccumulation levels immediately. And, there's little tidbits, things and stuff, once people get the book, they'll see, but like a trucker cap, for example, in California, all the guys wear it. I tell all my guy friends, take that off your head immediately. You're going to lose your hair follicles. You're going to go bald. And they're like, oh, I have no idea because it's a surfer cool, but you have nylon netting on the back. The sun hits it, goes through, straight in your hair follicles. It kills them. It's like that simple. It's just science. It's just chemistry.
Right.
So these are things that you just need to look at every day. What's in your socks, what's in your shoes you wear, all those things that have contact with your skin.
Okay. I hope everybody listened to that, took notes, because, we need to be careful. We do need to be careful. And it's amazing how you place that, because you're right. A lot of people associate the food. Like I'm noticing now a lot more people in the grocery aisles, they're looking at the ingredients. They're even Googling it when they don't understand the chemical word and stuff like that. They're so careful about what they put in their body, and they spend so much money now to eat the better apple and the organic this and that and whatnot. But then, like you say, they go out and here you are spending $100 on your food where you would have spent 40, but you're replacing it with a $7 t-shirt instead of a $40 t-shirt that is bringing all of those back into your body that you're trying to escape over there. So it's kind of, there's no intelligence in that either when you do that. So for all the people listening to this, make that change right now. Last question, Jeff, before I let you go.
Sure.
If we do a little a moment, and I want a quick answer that pops into your mind as soon as you hear what I'm about to ask you. So if you close your eyes right now and then you open them and you're the most powerful person in the world, not in terms of dominance or, being Trump, but in terms of the moral authority, the vision, the influence of what you want to bring to the world, what is the first action right now that you'd want to engage in to ignite that global shift that you're talking about so that people can be healthier, the environment be healthier, the animals be safer, and just everything be better? Because that's what you're working towards. You're working towards betterment. I
would immediately surround myself with guys that are smarter than me to have a think tank of problem-solvematic solutions. So, the best scientists, chemists, the best, and I would use that table of knowledge with wisdom to help go out in the world and problem solve with no bias interest, no corporate greed, none of that attached, and just humankind at the forefront and love and compassion. That's what I would do. And I think that could easily be done. And then I think we could implement those changes and the world would be a much better place.
I like that. It's very, very spiritual and very old school, ancient, round table, King Arthur kind of thinking, let me bring all the best of the people, put them on a round table, give them equal speaking and thought inclusion, and then implement what's really best instead of going out there and saying, I am Pharaoh and I do what everybody should do. And great. I love that answer. And like I said, we're going to follow Jeff Garner, Let Them Be Naked, and your work so that we can be a part of this change, because this is a revolution that I feel is going to happen. And I feel the time is right. And now that I've finally spoken with you, I feel a lot more confident that you are honest. And I say that with all the respect in the world, because 9 out of 10 people who sit in your seat are not honest. So
I understand. Yeah.
I hope you take that in the right way that I mean it. So thank you, Jeff Garner, for speaking on Compassiviste Dialogues. And thank you for challenging us to look beyond the surface of fashion and consider the unseen consequences of our clothing choices. Your work with, I'll say my way, Prophetik, and your advocacy through film and design invite us to reimagine an industry rooted in respect. To our audience, please subscribe to Compassiviste Dialogues so I can bring you more people like Jeff. All links to Jeff, Prophetik.com, Let Them Be Naked are listed below so you can engage, you can follow, you can watch, you can read, get the book as well so you can be healthier. We're here to help change the world together. I'm Ali Horia.